Captain Jake Harrison stood on the bridge of the UES Liberty and watched the stars through the main window. His ship moved slowly through space toward Kepler Station, where humans worked with aliens for the first time in 50 years. The excitement in his crew was easy to see as they prepared for another routine mission to the Joint Research Facility. Jake had been captain for 3 years now, and he loved every moment of commanding this exploration vessel that carried the hopes of 12 billion people back on Earth. The communications officer, Ryan Bell, turned from his station with a smile on his face. The message from Earth brought good news about the latest trade agreements with the Galactic Coalition. Humanity had finally found its place among the stars after decades of careful diplomacy and peaceful contact. The 4 main species of the coalition had welcomed humans as junior partners and offered them technology and knowledge that seemed too good to be true. Jake often wondered why such advanced civilizations would want to help a young species like humanity, but he pushed those thoughts away whenever they came. Dr. Lisa Martinez worked in her lab on Kepler Station and studied the ancient artifacts that the coalition had shared with human scientists. She found the work fascinating, even though many questions remained unanswered about these mysterious objects. The artifacts seemed to come from different civilizations, but the coalition scientists never gave clear answers about their origins. Lisa had asked many times about the previous owners of these items, but always received vague responses about lost civilizations and forgotten histories. Her research team included some of the best minds from Earth, and they spent long hours trying to understand the technology they found in the artifacts. Engineer Kate Sullivan worked with Lisa almost every day and had become quite good at figuring out how alien technology worked. Kate had a gift for understanding machines and computers that impressed even the coalition scientists who visited the station. The 2 women had become close friends over the months and often talked late into the night about their discoveries and the strange patterns they noticed in the data. Admiral Sam Porter commanded Earth's defense fleet from his headquarters in Geneva and felt proud of the 30 ships under his command. The vessels had been built with coalition approval and used technology that the aliens had provided to help humanity defend itself. Sam sometimes felt uncomfortable about the restrictions placed on human weapons and shields, but he understood that new members of the coalition had to prove themselves trustworthy before receiving more advanced systems. His aide, Commander Alex Turner, had noticed some odd things about their ship designs during routine maintenance checks. The weapon systems seemed to have built-in limitations that went beyond what the coalition had officially required. Alex had brought these concerns to Sam several times, but both men agreed that questioning their alien benefactors might damage the fragile relationship between humanity and the coalition. They decided to keep their observations private and hoped that time would bring better understanding. Ambassador Helen Grant represented humanity in the Coalition Council chambers on the central world of Nexus Prime. She attended meetings where the 4 dominant species made decisions about galactic policy and trade. Helen had worked hard to earn respect among her alien colleagues, but she often felt like humanity was being treated more like children than equal partners. The reptilian Vexhar spoke to her with barely hidden contempt, while the insectoid Kithara seemed to view humans as interesting specimens rather than intelligent beings. The crystalline Zephyrians communicated through light patterns that humans could barely understand even with translation devices. Their messages always seemed to carry hidden meanings that Helen could never quite grasp. The energy-based Nethros were perhaps the most mysterious of all, and rarely spoke directly to human representatives. When they did communicate, it was through intermediaries who delivered cryptic messages about humanity's potential and future role in galactic civilization. Back on the Liberty, Jake received reports from his crew about their successful completion of another cargo run to the outer colonies. Humanity had established 3 worlds beyond Earth, and each one was growing stronger with coalition support. The colonies provided resources and space for the expanding human population while serving as proof that humanity could successfully spread among the stars. Jake felt optimistic about the future as he watched his crew work with the efficiency and dedication that made him proud to be human. Dr. Martinez made another discovery in her lab that evening when she found data patterns suggesting that many different civilizations had contributed to the artifact collection. The technology showed signs of at least 40 different design philosophies and engineering approaches. This meant that dozens of species had somehow lost their artifacts to become part of the Coalition's research materials. Lisa began to wonder what had happened to all these civilizations, and why none of them seemed to be current members of the Coalition. The question troubled her as she prepared her daily report for Earth. Something felt wrong about the whole situation, but she could not put her finger on exactly what bothered her. The Coalition had been nothing but helpful and generous since first contact, but nagging doubts continued to grow in the back of her mind. She decided to investigate further and began searching through old Coalition records for any mention of the previous owners of the mysterious artifacts in her laboratory. Dr. Lisa Martinez stared at her computer screen in horror as the truth finally became clear. The data she had been analyzing for months told a terrible story about the Galactic Coalition and what they really did to new member species. The artifacts in her laboratory were not ancient relics from forgotten civilizations, but recent remains from 47 different species that had been systematically destroyed after joining the Coalition. Each civilization had been welcomed with open arms, just like humanity, and then eliminated once their usefulness was exhausted. The discovery hit her like a physical blow as she realized that humanity was walking into the same trap that had claimed so many others before them. Lisa immediately tried to contact Earth, but found that all communication channels had been mysteriously blocked. Emergency protocols activated across Kepler Station as Coalition forces suddenly appeared and began taking control of the facility. The alien scientists who had worked alongside humans for months now showed their true faces as they herded the human staff into detention areas. Kate Sullivan managed to hide in the engineering section when the takeover began and watched through security cameras as their former colleagues revealed weapons that had been hidden on the station all along. The Coalition had been planning this moment from the very beginning, and every friendly gesture had been part of an elaborate deception. Kate used her knowledge of the station systems to send out a desperate warning signal before the aliens could stop her, but she had no way of knowing if anyone would receive her message in time. Meanwhile, Captain Jake Harrison was conducting a routine survey mission in the outer system when his communications officer Ryan Bell picked up Kate's transmission. The message was brief and filled with static, but the words were clear enough to chill everyone on the bridge. The Coalition was attacking human installations, and Earth itself was under assault by massive alien fleets that had appeared without warning. Jake ordered his ship to maximum speed toward Earth, even though he knew they would arrive too late to help with the initial defense. Admiral Sam Porter was in his office reviewing fleet reports when the first Coalition ships dropped out of hyperspace around Earth. His aide, Commander Alex Turner, burst through the door with news that over 3,000 enemy vessels had surrounded the planet and were demanding immediate surrender. Sam rushed to the command center and tried to activate Earth's defenses, but found that most of his ships would not respond to orders. The Coalition technology that had been integrated into human vessels included hidden shutdown codes that left the fleet helpless. The betrayal was complete and devastating as Coalition forces began systematic bombardment of Earth's major cities. The planet's population of 12 billion people had no time to prepare for an attack that came from trusted allies rather than obvious enemies. Underground bunkers and mountain strongholds provided shelter for some civilians, but most of humanity's homeworld was reduced to burning ruins within hours of the first assault. Ambassador Helen Grant was attending a council meeting on Nexus Prime when the attack began and found herself suddenly surrounded by hostile aliens who no longer bothered to hide their contempt for humanity. The Vexhar delegate hissed with satisfaction as reports came in about the successful elimination of human military forces. The Cathara representative clicked its mandibles in what passed for laughter among its species, while discussing how human colonies were being systematically destroyed. Thatibi, crystalline Zephyrians pulsed with colors that their translation devices interpreted as expressions of cruel amusement. They had been studying human psychology and behavior patterns for years, while pretending to be friends and allies. The energy-based Nethros spoke through their intermediaries about humanity's potential for biological harvesting and technological integration into coalition systems. Captain Harrison's ship finally reached Earth's outer system, and he watched in helpless rage as his home world burned beneath clouds of radioactive smoke. The 3 human colonies had suffered similar fates, with only scattered outposts and remote mining stations managing to escape the initial wave of destruction. The Liberty picked up desperate transmissions from survivors who were hiding in whatever shelter they could find, while coalition forces hunted them with methodical efficiency. Dr. Martinez managed to escape from Kepler Station during the confusion of the takeover and made her way to a hidden research facility in the asteroid belt. She brought with her crucial data about coalition methods and the fate of the 47 extinct species. The information would be vital for any human survivors who hoped to avoid complete extinction. Lisa began working immediately to understand coalition technology and find weaknesses that might be exploited by desperate humans. Kate Sullivan also escaped the station by hiding in a maintenance pod that was ignored during the initial sweep for human prisoners. She drifted in space for 3 days before being picked up by a human cargo ship that had been far from Earth when the attack began. Kate carried with her detailed knowledge of coalition systems and the engineering skills that would prove essential for any resistance movement that managed to form among the scattered survivors. Admiral Porter's command staff evacuated to an underground facility beneath the ruins of Denver, where they established emergency headquarters for what remained of human military forces. The bunker had been designed to survive nuclear war, but nothing had prepared them for orbital bombardment by advanced alien weapons. Sam worked desperately to contact surviving ships and ground forces while trying to understand how badly humanity had been damaged by the surprise attack. The full scope of the disaster became clear over the following days as reports trickled in from across human space. Earth's population had been reduced from 12 billion to perhaps 50 million survivors scattered in underground shelters and remote locations. The 3 colony worlds had fared slightly better, but still lost most of their populations to coalition bombardment and ground assault forces. Ryan Bell established communication with other surviving ships and began building a network that would allow coordination between the scattered remnants of humanity. His work would prove crucial in the dark months ahead as humans tried to organize some form of resistance against their former allies who had revealed themselves as ruthless predators, bent on harvesting everything useful from human civilization before discarding the rest. 6 months had passed since the coalition betrayal, and humanity teetered on the edge of complete extinction. The survivors numbered fewer than 50 million across all human settlements and struggled just to find enough food and basic supplies to stay alive another day. Earth remained under coalition occupation, with alien patrols hunting down any humans who dared to venture from their underground hiding places. The once proud cities had been reduced to radioactive rubble where nothing could survive for long without protection. Engineer Kate Sullivan led salvage operations from a hidden base carved into an asteroid where a few dozen humans worked around the clock to keep their life support systems running. She had become an expert at cannibalizing destroyed coalition technology and turning enemy equipment into crude weapons and defensive systems. The work was dangerous because coalition forces regularly swept through space looking for human survivors, but Kate's team had learned to hide their activities and strike only when the aliens moved on to other areas. Dr. Lisa Martinez worked in her makeshift laboratory deep within the asteroid belt where she continued studying coalition technology and the data she had rescued from Kepler Station. Her research had revealed something that gave her hope even in the darkest moments. The Coalition had deliberately kept humanity weak during their period of cooperation, but they had also made a crucial mistake in underestimating human adaptability and creativity. While other species that joined the Coalition had specialized in specific areas of technology or science, humans possessed a rare ability to understand and improve upon any system they encountered. Lisa realized that this trait had evolved during humanity's violent history, when survival often depended on quickly learning new skills and adapting to changing circumstances. The Coalition had never faced an enemy that could reverse engineer and enhance their technology in real time during actual combat. Admiral Sam Porter coordinated resistance activities from his underground command center beneath Denver, where he worked with surviving military leaders to organize what few resources remained available to humanity. Colonel Lisa Perry had escaped from the destroyed lunar base and now helped plan desperate raids against isolated Coalition outposts. Major Dan White commanded the few dozen ground vehicles that had survived the initial bombardment and used them to rescue survivors from the ruins of major cities. The military situation seemed hopeless, with only a handful of functioning human ships scattered across dozens of star systems. Most of these vessels were civilian cargo haulers or exploration, ships that had been far from home when the attack began. Captain Jake Harrison's Liberty had become a mobile command post that secretly visited isolated human settlements to deliver supplies and coordinate resistance activities. His crew, including pilot Jennifer Adams and tactical officer Brad Coleman, had adapted to their new role as guerrilla fighters rather than peaceful explorers. They learned to avoid Coalition patrols and strike at enemy positions when the aliens least expected trouble. The Liberty carried messages between separated human groups and helped maintain the communication network that Ryan Bell was building across the remains of human civilization. Ryan's hidden communication posts allowed scattered survivors to share information about Coalition movements and coordinate their desperate struggle for survival. He had established relay stations in abandoned mining facilities and remote outposts where humans could pass along intelligence about enemy weaknesses and successful resistance tactics. The network grew slowly but steadily as more survivors made contact and joined the fight against their former allies. Life in the hidden settlements was harsh and dangerous, with constant fear of discovery by Coalition hunting parties. Humans learned to move only at night and hide during the day when alien sensors were most active. They scavenged for food and equipment in the ruins of their former cities while avoiding the radiation zones where Coalition weapons had poisoned the ground for generations to come. Children born after the betrayal would never know the peaceful world their parents had lost, but they learned quickly how to survive in caves and underground tunnels. The older survivors taught them everything they could about human history and technology so that knowledge would not be lost even if the current generation failed to survive. Education became a form of resistance against Coalition efforts to completely erase human culture and achievement. Kate Sullivan made breakthrough discoveries while examining captured Coalition equipment in her asteroid workshop. She found that alien technology relied heavily on standardized components and rigid design principles that made it powerful but also predictable. Human engineering philosophy emphasized flexibility and improvisation, which allowed them to modify Coalition systems in ways their original designers had never intended. Dr. Martinez confirmed Kate's findings through her own research and began developing countermeasures that exploited weaknesses in Coalition technology. She discovered that the aliens had grown overconfident after destroying 47 previous civilizations and had stopped innovating because they believed their current systems were perfect. This arrogance would prove to be their fatal flaw when facing humans who refused to accept limitations. Admiral Porter received reports from across human space about small victories against Coalition forces as resistance groups learned to work together. Colonel Perry's ground team successfully destroyed several alien supply depots, while Major White's mobile units rescued hundreds of survivors from occupied territories. These successes were tiny compared to humanity's massive losses, but they proved that the coalition could be hurt if humans were clever and determined enough. Captain Harrison's ship discovered an abandoned coalition research facility that contained valuable information about alien military plans and technological weaknesses. The data revealed that the coalition intended to use surviving humans as test subjects for biological experiments designed to create hybrid species that combined human adaptability with alien longevity. This knowledge made the resistance even more determined to fight, rather than surrender to such a horrible fate. The communication network that Ryan Bell had built finally reached every known human settlement and allowed coordinated planning for larger operations against coalition forces. Survivors began to believe that they might actually have a chance to strike back at their enemies rather than simply hiding until they were eventually discovered and eliminated. The darkest period of human history was coming to an end as people, who had lost everything, found new purpose in the struggle for survival and revenge against those who had betrayed their trust. 2 years had passed since the betrayal, and humanity had begun its remarkable transformation from scattered survivors into something the coalition had never anticipated. Hidden facilities carved deep into asteroids and mountain caves buzzed with activity as human engineers and scientists worked around the clock to forge new weapons from the ashes of their destroyed civilization. Kate Sullivan led teams of brilliant minds who had learned to think in ways that alien species found incomprehensible. The breakthrough came when her engineering teams successfully reverse-engineered captured Vexhar plasma weapons and Kythera shield generators. The humans did not simply copy the alien technology, but improved upon both designs in ways that made the original creators look primitive by comparison. Kate discovered that coalition technology was built around rigid mathematical principles that prioritized efficiency over adaptability. Human minds could see possibilities that alien logic rejected as impossible or impractical. Dr. Lisa Martinez worked alongside Kate's teams to unlock secrets that the coalition had kept hidden for thousands of years. Her research into the 47 extinct civilizations revealed that each species had possessed unique technological approaches that could be combined in revolutionary ways. The coalition had preserved samples of this technology as trophies, but never understood how to integrate different design philosophies into unified systems. Humans possessed the mental flexibility to blend incompatible technologies and create hybrid systems that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen. Lisa's laboratories became workshops where salvaged alien equipment was torn apart and rebuilt according to human engineering principles that emphasized innovation over tradition. The resulting devices often looked crude compared to sleek coalition designs, but they worked better and could be adapted for multiple purposes. Admiral Sam Porter unveiled humanity's first post-betrayal warship in a ceremony held deep beneath the Rocky Mountains. The HMS Defiance had been constructed entirely in secret, using materials salvaged from destroyed coalition vessels and enhanced with human innovations that pushed the boundaries of known science. The ship incorporated adaptive armor that learned from each attack and became stronger rather than weaker when damaged by enemy weapons. Colonel Lisa Perry and Major Dan White attended the launch ceremony along with other surviving military leaders who had spent months planning the ship's first combat mission. The Defiance carried quantum computers that could hack coalition systems in real time and weapons that drew power directly from stellar radiation. Every system on the ship could be modified or upgraded during actual combat as situations changed and new threats emerged. Captain Jake Harrison was selected to command the new vessel and felt honored to be chosen for such an important role in humanity's comeback. His crew from the Liberty joined him aboard the Defiance, including pilot Jennifer Adams, who had become expert at flying ships through dangerous asteroid fields while avoiding coalition patrols. Tactical Officer Brad Coleman now commanded weapon systems that could adapt their targeting and power output based on real-time analysis of enemy defenses. Ryan Bell had expanded his communication network to span dozens of star systems and coordinated simultaneous strikes against isolated coalition outposts. His hidden relay stations allowed resistance groups to share tactical information instantly and plan complex operations that required precise timing across multiple locations. The network had become so sophisticated that coalition forces could no longer predict where humans would strike next. The first major operation began when Colonel Perry led ground assault teams against a coalition mining facility that was processing rare elements needed for their most advanced weapons. The attack demonstrated new human tactics that combined traditional military strategy with guerrilla warfare techniques and cutting-edge technology integration. Perry's soldiers wore armor that could change its appearance to match local terrain and carried weapons that fired different types of ammunition depending on target analysis. The facility's alien defenders had never faced enemies who could adapt their tactics and equipment during actual combat. Coalition military doctrine relied on overwhelming firepower and standardized responses to known threats. Human soldiers confused and demoralized their opponents by constantly changing their approach and using captured alien weapons in ways that violated every principle of proper military engineering. Kate Sullivan's engineers had modified, captured, coalition vehicles to operate under human control and equipped them with hybrid weapon systems that combined the best features of multiple alien technologies. The assault teams moved with speed and coordination that surprised even their own commanders as they overwhelmed defenses that should have been impregnable according to coalition military analysis. Dr. Martinez monitored the operation from her hidden laboratory and provided real-time technical support as her teams analyzed enemy responses and developed countermeasures on the spot. She had learned to think like an alien engineer while retaining human creativity and flexibility. This unique perspective allowed her to predict coalition tactics and provide humans with technological advantages that turned every engagement into a learning experience. The mining facility fell within 6 hours and yielded 300 human prisoners who had been used as slave labor in the alien operation. More importantly, the victory provided valuable intelligence about coalition supply chains and military organization. The rescued prisoners included several scientists and engineers who brought fresh perspectives to human research and development efforts. Admiral Porter coordinated follow-up operations that targeted coalition supply convoys and communication centers throughout human space. The Defiance and other newly constructed human vessels struck at enemy positions with precision and withdrew before reinforcements could arrive. Each successful mission provided more resources and technology that could be integrated into expanding human capabilities. The coalition began to realize that they faced an entirely new type of enemy when reports reached their high command about human technological innovations that should have been impossible according to established scientific principles. Their confidence started to crack as intelligence officers tried to understand how a species they had nearly exterminated was somehow developing weapons and tactics that surpassed their own military capabilities. Human morale soared as news of victories spread through the survivor communities, and more people volunteered to join the resistance movement. The dark period of hiding and desperation was ending as humanity rediscovered its capacity for innovation and determination. Children who had grown up in caves and tunnels now learned to operate advanced technology and dream of reclaiming their place among the stars through strength rather than dependence on treacherous allies. 5 years after the betrayal, humanity had not merely survived but evolved into something the Coalition never anticipated during their centuries of galactic domination. Captain Jake Harrison commanded a fleet of 50 advanced warships that moved through space with deadly precision and purpose. Each vessel incorporated revolutionary human innovations that made them superior to Coalition ships through adaptive technology and creative engineering approaches that alien minds found impossible to understand or counter effectively. The HMS Defiance led formation flights that struck at enemy positions across multiple star systems simultaneously, while maintaining perfect coordination through Ryan Bell's expanded communication network. Human tactics had evolved beyond simple hit and run raids into complex strategic operations that targeted coalition infrastructure and supply lines. The aliens found themselves fighting an enemy that learned from every engagement and became stronger rather than weaker as the conflict continued. Dr. Lisa Martinez had unlocked the technological secrets of all 47 extinct civilizations and integrated their lost knowledge into human systems that surpassed anything the galaxy had ever seen. Her research teams discovered that humanity possessed unique neural plasticity that allowed them to interface directly with technologies from any species. This biological advantage meant that humans could understand and improve upon alien devices in ways that their original creators considered physically impossible. The breakthrough discovery came when Dr. Martinez realized that coalition species had deliberately limited their own evolution to maintain social stability and prevent internal conflicts. Each alien race had sacrificed adaptability for predictability and lost the capacity for rapid innovation that characterized human development. The coalition had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, but had grown stagnant and overconfident in their technological superiority. Kate Sullivan's engineering teams now operated from massive industrial complexes hidden throughout the outer asteroid belts where they manufactured weapons and ships using hybrid technologies that combined human creativity with alien knowledge. The production facilities could adapt their output in real time based on battlefield requirements and tactical developments. Human manufacturing philosophy emphasized flexibility and rapid prototyping over the standardized production methods that coalition industries had used for millennia. Admiral Sam Porter coordinated fleet operations from his new command center aboard the battleship Determination, which served as mobile headquarters for expanding human military forces. His strategic planning incorporated lessons learned from studying coalition tactics during their destruction of the 47 previous civilizations. Porter understood that the aliens relied on psychological warfare and overwhelming displays of force rather than adaptive combat techniques. Colonel Lisa Perry led ground operations that liberated human prisoners from coalition labor camps while gathering intelligence about enemy plans and capabilities. Her assault teams now included former prisoners who brought valuable knowledge about coalition facilities and security procedures. The rescued humans often possessed technical skills that had been exploited by their captors and could be redirected toward resistance activities. Major Dan White commanded armored divisions that used captured and modified coalition vehicles in combination with purely human designs that emphasized mobility and firepower over defensive strength. His tactics confused enemy commanders who expected humans to fight according to established military principles rather than constantly innovating new approaches that violated standard combat doctrine. The war reached a turning point when Admiral Porter's forces successfully captured a Nethros command ship during a carefully planned ambush operation. The energy-based aliens had been considered invulnerable to physical attack, but human scientists developed specialized weapons that could disrupt their electromagnetic fields and force them into containment systems. The captured Nethros revealed crucial information about coalition strategic planning and long-term objectives. The intelligence gathered from the enemy command ship exposed the full scope of coalition plans for humanity and other potential victim species. The aliens intended to use human genetic material as the foundation for creating new hybrid species that combined human adaptability with coalition longevity and technological capabilities. Humanity was not merely being harvested for resources, but was intended to serve as breeding stock for the next phase of galactic evolution under alien control. Commander Alex Turner led a daring raid on Kepler Station, which had been converted into a major coalition research facility after the betrayal. His team included several scientists who had worked at the station before the attack and knew its layout and security systems. The mission successfully recovered valuable research data and computer systems that contained detailed information about coalition technology and military organization. The captured data revealed that coalition leadership feared human unpredictability more than any other factor in the ongoing conflict. Alien strategic planners had begun developing weapons specifically designed to eliminate human genetic lines entirely rather than attempting to control or redirect human development. The coalition had concluded that humanity posed an existential threat to their galactic dominance if allowed to continue evolving. Dr. Martinez used the recovered information to accelerate human technological development and create countermeasures against planned coalition superweapons. Her teams worked with captured alien scientists who had begun to question their leadership's methods and objectives after witnessing human capabilities firsthand. These defectors provided insights into coalition psychology and revealed weaknesses that could be exploited in future operations. Captain Harrison's fleet engaged coalition forces in the first major space battle since the initial betrayal and achieved decisive victory through superior tactics and adaptive technology. Human ships proved capable of modifying their weapon systems and defensive capabilities during actual combat, while coalition vessels remained locked into preset configurations that could not respond to changing battlefield conditions. The battle demonstrated that humanity had achieved technological parity with their former oppressors and possessed strategic advantages that made coalition victory increasingly unlikely. Human commanders used unpredictable tactics that confused enemy formations, while human technology adapted to counter every weapon system that the aliens deployed against them. Kate Sullivan's engineering teams began construction of even more advanced vessels that incorporated lessons learned from recent combat engagements. The new ships would carry weapons that could rewrite enemy computer systems and defensive systems that turned incoming attacks into power sources for human equipment. Each new class of human warship represented a quantum leap in capability that pushed the boundaries of what coalition scientists believed possible. The resistance movement had evolved into a professional military force, capable of challenging coalition supremacy throughout the galaxy, while human civilization rebuilt itself, according to principles that emphasized innovation, adaptability, and technological advancement. The species that had once sought peaceful cooperation with galactic neighbors was becoming something far more formidable through necessity and determination, forged in the fires of betrayal and survival. 8 years after the betrayal, the tide of war had completely reversed, and Admiral Sam Porter commanded a fleet of over 200 advanced vessels that represented the pinnacle of human technological achievement. The ships moved through space with confidence and purpose as they systematically liberated human worlds and established new colonies throughout sectors that had once been exclusively controlled by coalition forces. Earth itself had been reclaimed and was slowly healing from the devastation of the initial attack through human technology that could repair radiation damage and restore poisoned ecosystems. Kate Sullivan's engineers had established massive shipyards in orbit around reclaimed human worlds, where they constructed vessels that incorporated revolutionary technologies beyond anything the galaxy had previously imagined. The new ships could phase through solid matter to avoid enemy weapons, and then rematerialize inside enemy vessels to deliver devastating attacks. Human defensive systems had evolved to turn any form of attack into energy that powered their own weapons and shields. Captain Jake Harrison led the final assault on the Coalition home system, where the 4 alien species had retreated to their fortress worlds in a desperate attempt to avoid complete defeat. The battle showcased the full evolution of human military capabilities as ships that had once been simple exploration vessels now carried weapons that could rewrite enemy DNA at the molecular level and defensive systems that made them nearly invulnerable to conventional attacks. The coalition forces that had once numbered in the thousands now consisted of a few hundred vessels manned by demoralized crews who no longer believed in their leadership or their cause. The aliens had discovered that fighting humans was unlike any previous conflict they had experienced because their enemies adapted and improved constantly, while Coalition technology remained frozen in outdated patterns that had not changed for centuries. Dr. Lisa Martinez confronted the Coalition leadership in the council chambers of Nexus Prime, where she presented evidence of their crimes against 47 different civilizations. The data she had compiled over years of research painted a clear picture of systematic genocide and technological theft that spanned thousands of years of galactic history. Rather than seeking revenge against their former oppressors, humanity offered the defeated aliens a choice between genuine cooperation and exile to the galactic rim. The Vexhar delegates who had once spoken with contempt now cowered before human representatives who held the power to determine their species' fate. The insectoid Kythera clicked their mandibles nervously as they realized that their technological advantages had been completely negated by human innovation and adaptability. The crystalline Zephyrians pulsed with colors that indicated fear and confusion, while the energy-based Nethros communicated through intermediaries who begged for mercy. Commander Alex Turner served as military liaison during the surrender negotiations and ensured that Coalition forces laid down their weapons and submitted to human authority without further resistance. The aliens, who had once considered themselves the supreme rulers of galactic civilization, now faced the reality that they had been surpassed by a species they had tried to exterminate. Their arrogance and overconfidence had led to their downfall. The Coalition leadership faced a stark choice between accepting human terms for peaceful coexistence or facing complete extinction through continued warfare that they could no longer hope to win. The alien species had lost the capacity for innovation and adaptation that might have allowed them to develop effective countermeasures against human technology. Their rigid thinking and adherence to traditional methods had become fatal weaknesses when confronting an enemy that refused to follow established patterns. Ambassador Helen Grant established the new Galactic Federation with humanity as the dominant species, while ensuring that other races could participate as equals if they demonstrated genuine commitment to peaceful cooperation and mutual respect. The new government was designed to prevent any single species from accumulating enough power to threaten others and included safeguards against the type of systematic oppression that had characterized Coalition rule. Earth was restored to garden world status, with a population of 8 billion people who lived in cities that incorporated the best features of human and alien architecture. The planet served as the capital of the new Galactic Federation and hosted representatives from dozens of species who sought to join the organization on equal terms. Human colonies now spanned over 100 star systems and continued expanding, as improved technology made interstellar travel faster and more efficient. Ryan Bell oversaw a communication network that connected every inhabited world in human space and ensured that no species would ever again suffer the isolation and manipulation that had allowed the Coalition to destroy so many civilizations. The network carried not only military and political communications, but also cultural exchanges and scientific collaboration between different species that were learning to work together. The former Coalition species were offered opportunities to contribute their knowledge and capabilities to the new galactic order, but under human supervision that prevented them from returning to their old patterns of dominance and exploitation. Many individual aliens chose to work with human organizations and found that cooperation produced better results than the rigid hierarchies they had known under Coalition rule. Dr. Martinez established research institutions that studied the technology and culture of extinct civilizations to ensure that their contributions to galactic knowledge would not be forgotten. The 47 species that had been destroyed by the Coalition were honored through monuments and educational programs that taught future generations about the importance of vigilance against tyranny and the value of diversity in galactic civilization. Kate Sullivan led development projects that shared human technology with other species while maintaining safeguards that prevented its misuse for aggressive purposes. The engineering principles that had allowed humanity to defeat the Coalition were adapted for peaceful applications that improved living conditions throughout the galaxy and opened new possibilities for scientific advancement and cultural development. The story reached its conclusion in a classroom on Earth, where children learned about the dark years when humanity had nearly been exterminated by trusted allies who revealed themselves as enemies. Their teacher was former Colonel Lisa Perry, who had become an educator after the war ended and wanted to ensure that future generations understood both the dangers of complacency and the power of human determination when faced with seemingly impossible challenges. The lesson emphasized that humanity's greatest strength had never been their technology or their weapons, but their refusal to surrender hope, even in the darkest times when extinction seemed inevitable. The galaxy now benefited from human leadership that valued diversity, innovation, and the potential for any species to contribute meaningfully to galactic civilization, regardless of their current level of technological development or political influence.